Food stamp recipients are suing the USDA after new restrictions limit what they can buy with taxpayer-funded benefits. The policy blocks purchases of things like candy, soda, and energy drinks through the SNAP program. The Trump administration says if taxpayers are footing the food bill, then junk shouldn't be on the menu. Steve Forbes, what do you say?
Well, as one who has an affection for junk food, I don't believe taxpayers should support my habit or of anyone else. And the old saying, he who has the gold makes the rules. He who's providing the food makes the rules on what you can buy with that food. It doesn't prevent you from going out and buying this other stuff. It just means the taxpayer isn't going to pay for it. Right. I think it's quite a presumption. And when we used to have courts that functioned and made decisions quickly, this would have been thrown out as soon as it arrived. But now it'll take months and months and a lot of lawyers' fees.
What's funny to me, Jackie, is we call it SNAP. We need to be reminded that is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's not free food for everyone. It's supplemental nutrition. So if you need nutrition and you need to supplement help in terms of buying that, that's really what this is for.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because I think that's the most important part that people forget. And I don't take sort of a libertarian view on this, where you should be able to use your SNAP benefits to buy anything you want and that it's up to the consumer to make those choices. As you said, Taylor, if you need that kind of help, you need nutritional help, the government is offering it to you, but then it needs to be good nutrition. We're talking about taking soda, energy drinks, and candy off of the docket here. Those are not fundamental. Those are supplementary, like, you know, those are the extras, those are the treats. It's not your meat and vegetables, and fruit. So I think that's important to note. But what I find interesting about the suit that's being brought here specifically is that the plaintiff is claiming that her daughter has a restrictive food intake disorder and that she can only consume safely certain types of food. Presumably in this lawsuit, she's claiming that the kinds of foods that she would want wouldn't be available to her any longer because of these restrictions. And so I find it difficult to believe, if a person has this kind of disorder, that energy drinks, soda, and candy would be what you would be feeding them. You know, I would have to really dig into it more to understand what they're claiming. But it seems to me like a little bit of a stretch. And so I'm curious to see how this plays out in court and what ends up happening.
Maybe a 6-year-old wrote that suit. You know, I want candy.
Yeah, I need the candy to live, Mama. But Dagan, but, what if someone comes in and says, the next administration, they want to define what food is. They say, oh no, you said you can't use it towards food and candy. Now we're going to change it because the science says this. And we all learned during COVID, the science has interesting definitions. How do you prevent more government overreach by telling you what you can or cannot do with taxpayer-funded money versus the government, I guess, staying out of the way, the libertarian view that Jackie said she didn't want to take?
The procedure needs to be changed. The process with which you change the dietary guidelines that SNAP must follow needs to be changed. And that's what the argument is in this lawsuit. It involves just 5 states: Colorado, Iowa, Nebraska, Tennessee, and West Virginia. So there were 22 states that were granted waivers by the Department of Agriculture that would allowing them to bar participants from using the benefits to buy the candies and the sodas, prepared desserts, and the like. The lawsuit argues that it essentially does not follow the correct path, that the administration did not have the authority. There's a passage in the Food and Nutrition Act which allows SNAP to develop pilot programs to test changes that would, quote, increase the efficiency of SNAP and improve the delivery of benefits. Disallowing foods does neither. That's according to the lawsuit. And there's also an Administrative Procedure Act violation that it cites, which has been used in prior lawsuits. But this goes back to the language that governs the program. If you don't like it, then it's up to the people in Washington to change that. But I will note that in previous decades, the Department of Agriculture considered and rejected efforts for waivers. I believe even during President Trump's first term, because they didn't want to get big food, big mad.
Brian,
Yes.
should we have exceptions for individual, household, nutritional, medical needs?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know what this disorder is. I'm not a doctor. It's called ARFID. I don't know what it is.
I know what it is.
Okay, you know what it is. That's fine. Maybe you should have an exception for it. But I know that this is like the people who are coordinating this is the National Center for Law and Economic Justice, kind of a leftiest outlet that for decades has been fighting to make the welfare state bigger. Like, that's what they do. And I just think they're trying to make it impossible to shrink government. I just think all these outfits exist so that you can never shrink it. As soon as you try to a little bit, they say, no, but what about this? And so we're going to create this right that you have access to all these things. And the thing standing in the way, in my view, of like getting back to constitutional democratic governance in this country is this constellation of nonprofits that are all kind of way on one side of the political aisle, and they just are going to fight everything. There maybe should be some exception for this. I don't know, but I want to just go back to what you said. Like, this was not meant to be the thing. How many millions of Americans are on SNAP right now? It's grown like exponentially, right? Are we in the 40, 50 million range?
And we're the richest country in the world.
And do you remember under Obama how much time they spent? They're like, hey, we want to give you instructions for how to sign up for this. It was get people in, get people in, get people in, because it grows the bureaucracy. And it's those same bureaucrats, by the way, who wrote the arcane rules that make it impossible to change these things. So it looks like, we got to be nice. We just need an exception. But the truth is, these guys are trying to fight to make sure the deep state never shrinks, one lawsuit at a time, and this is part of that.
An utter lack of common sense.
Yes.
The way they twist words. Oh, no, you need another act of Congress. No, you don't. You need courts that are willing to make judgments instead of punting on these things and throwing them out. And how about charging, when you file one of these silly suits, charge them some money. But also, this gets to the big shortcoming of DOJ, is they didn't go into the particulars of where this money actually goes and what it does. And that's what I hope they follow through on in every department. Where does the money actually go? And we found out it goes around and round and round, but not to the people who are supposed to be helped.
And by the way, that ARFID is a mental illness. It's not it's not a GI disorder. It's in the diagnostic and statistical manual, the DSM-5. It's an avoidant and restrictive food intake disorder. So if some kid is suffering from a mental illness related to eating, like bulimia or anorexia, I'm sure that they could get a waiver. That's not what this is about. This is about power to the left.
Brian, you're too nice. I was even thinking no exceptions. Just cut the junk food and deal with it.
Can I just say one more thing? Also, if you make the program very basic and people can't get these extras, and I'm not talking about this case specifically, it might incentivize people who do want those extras to, maybe work a little harder and get off the program.
Yeah.
It may be possible for some and not others, but ultimately we provide the help, right? But it's not supposed to be forever.